Episode 61 of the 214 Sports Show. Thank you for joining us. And my fellow co-host, TJ Crowless, do you hear that? Do
What
you
do
hear
I
that?
hear?
Do you
What
hear
do
that
I
a
hear?
lot? I hear baseball is popping in some gloves. I hear the sounds of an organ. I hear a lot of commotion. I hear take me out to the ball game. I hear the wood bat crackling out to the outfield.
Ladies and
It
gentlemen, is it baseball time in Texas?
It just may be baseball time in Texas. Folks, it's opening day. Couldn't have come at a more important time, a more timely part of our calendar. And it's finally back. Been a few months since we've talked about the Rangers in actual in action for the regular season, but it is opening day, and it is finally here. The Rangers host the Boston Red Sox in their first series of the 2025 season at Globe Life Field, trying to rebound after not winning the World Series last year, of course, having one of the worst title defenses in the history of the MLB and North American sports in general. But firstly, TJ, how you doing today, my friend? My name is Joseph Duffy, by the way.
Doing great. I'm doing great, Joseph. Thank you for asking. It's been great. Episode 61, right?
Yep, episode 61,
Perfect. In honor of Rangers opening day, I think we should make it the Robinson Chirinos episode.
Robinson Chirinos episode.
Cody Bradford was also number 61, or is number 61. He's starting the year off the IL, and so I don't know.
Sorry, buddy. You got to earn your stripes here a little bit for the episode number titles. But yeah, so a lot of stuff going on for these predictions that we're gonna go through this on this episode today. But um the Rangers are gonna begin in their 62nd season, I believe, total. And of course, the team used to be the Washington Senators, eventually move over to Arlington, now in their third ballpark, and a stadium that not a lot of people do like. Some do like because of the conditioning that they have when the roof is closed, opposed to the hot summers where you'd be in a heap of sweat in in a day game and there wouldn't be many people attending. But Globe Life Field again will be the home of the Rangers. I hope the roof will be open for opening day. That would make the most sense. But news came out this past week that Evan Carter will not make the opening day roster. However, the Bandy Boys and Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker will, of course, in absence of a John Gray who's on the IL and also Cody Bradford, the Bandy Boys make the opening day roster. So far, do you agree with this decision to have Evan Carter, who has been struggling a little bit in spring training and again struggling against lefties as well? Do you agree with him starting in the minors to start off 2025?
Yeah, I just want to point out something that you said earlier before I get into this and before I dive into the Evan Carter question. Look, some people don't like the new ballpark. I get it. All right. We all feel nostalgia for the old ballpark, the Globe Life Park, Globe Life, Globe Life Park, or as other people know, the older folks, they call it the ballpark in Arlington, I think,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
So look, I mean, we all want to go back to that old stadium. I love it too. It is a lot more prettier. It is a lot more nicer. But I'm telling you, man, this new ballpark, if you don't like it, you need to realize that this stadium brought us the World Series. All right, we're not signing pl star players like Corey Seager. We're not signing players like Jacob deGrom and Nathan Eovaldi if they're having to play in 110-degree heat for at least a month of the season. Now, I do say that obviously, the old stadium holds a lot of weight to Rangers fans in the organization and its history. I think the best thing that they can do, I understand that they don't have a lease towards the stadium anymore and that now it's a football stadium. They don't really have the same stands anymore. But I wish, just wish, this is a final wish, not a final wish, sorry, but this is just a big wish for me that I really want to see the Rangers play at least a series a year in that stadium again. That's how it should work. We
Yep.
need that new stadium. That's the reason why I think the new stadium is basically the World Series MVP for us. But that old stadium just holds so much weight. I would love to have a series there at least once a year. Once a year, put it in May or something like that where
You can
it's
make it
not
an
too
Astro
hot yet.
series. You can hold more people and make more money.
Yeah, exactly. Or make it a whenever it's an NL matchup like the Dodgers. something
Hmm.
like that. That would be huge, huge money. You could definitely sell out that. Well, maybe not sell out the stadium for a regular season game, especially if the Rangers aren't doing well. But they could do something well with that. So they could do really well with that. But anyways, yeah. Now going back to the question you actually asked. Sorry, I'm dodging questions like I'm a politician. Um, Look, Evan Carter. Um, he's gonna. I, it was a very surprising move, and I think that a lot of people actually saw it coming, because of how much he was struggling in spring training. I I guess I kind of get it because as of right now, we do have a lot of great hitters in our lineup right now. And if we need somebody who needs a little bit more time to hit against lefties or needs a little bit more time to hit, or find a good swing or anything like that, that's fine because we do have a lot of great players. And I do agree that Kevin Pillar is actually a good addition to this opening day roster, somebody who can be a pinch runner, not necessarily a great hitter. We already have those, but a great defensive player. That's something that we might need out in the outfield, especially center field, as some people have said Leody Taveras has a little trouble sometimes defensively in center field, and I get that. And also, we don't know how Adolis is naturally right fielder. Wyatt Langford's naturally a left fielder, so it's kind of hard to put all these players in center field. Kevin Pillar could be a good player to put in there as a defensive substitution. So, um, and plus, again, with adding on to that, with the injuries to the pitchers, Cody Bradford and John Gray going into the IL, needing to call up more pitchers, which we'll get into later. Um, that's something that, somebody had to be left out, especially with Dane Dunning getting waived, which I also assume we'll talk about later this episode. We needed more pitchers on the roster. We needed to call up more players from that. Evan Carter is kind of the anomaly where he's a World Series hero. He came in and saved the franchise technically from completely collapsing and had a great postseason, had a great September, but hasn't had that since. He's going to need to find that again. And since he hasn't, it's kind of unfortunate, but he's the one who gets cut. I mean, not cut obviously, but demoted to the minors. And I guess that's just how it goes. Hopefully he can find it back because it's just really shocking. It's shocking, but it
I
makes
mean,
sense in the end, I guess.
yeah, it does make sense. I'm gonna have to agree with you, really. But he's really struggled against lefties since that World Series hero run, and of course, having that back injury that has really held him back um, so much from the plate, from his outfielding heroics. It kind of sucks because he's so young. You don't see a lot of back injuries for players that were like 21 at the time, like him. And, when you're a fan, you don't want to see this, but in the end, it'll probably make the most sense because he's hitting like 140, 150 in spring training, still struggling, not showing much improvement. But if you still can't hit lefties at this point, you're probably going to have to get a little bit more work done in the minors where you can work more on your skill and your craft. And then when your time has come, you'll be called up eventually by Bruce Bochy, I'm sure. I don't think he'll be there that long. Again, I think he'll be great in the minors, but he just needs more time to develop and, rehab after that injury and just work more on his craft. I think it's a fine decision for now. But like you were saying, Dane Dunning, he was put on waivers. It looks like he is back because he cleared waivers for the time being. So he might be back in the minors for now. But he just won't be in the opening day roster. But a lot of additions for this team. Of course, you mentioned Kevin Pillar, who is now going to be one of the fourth outfielders, backup outfielders, if you will. No more Travis Jankowski, sadly. No more El Blondie. A
Which
sad loss
that's
for
a tough one.
the Texas Rangers. Yeah, but also Jock Peterson, a big free agent acquisition for the Texas Rangers, DHing more than likely for the most part this year. A willing outfielder at times, but he's really settled into a DH role as of late from Arizona. And then also Jake Berger from the Miami Marlins, big acquisition, big bat to help more with the power game, replacing the departed Nathaniel Lowe. You can say his defense probably won't be as good as the former Gold Glover Nathaniel Lowe, but he'll primarily play first base this year for the Texas Rangers. But so far, the rotation has already been released for the Texas Rangers so far, and Nathan Eovaldi will be opening The matchup today against the Boston Red Sox, going against Garrett Crochet, who the Red Sox got from the Chicago White Sox. And, this rotation isn't, of course, in an orthodox order. As we've discussed in the past, Jacob deGrom will not be one or two to start off the season. He'll actually be the fourth starter and close this series on Sunday. So looking at this Rangers rotation, going with Nathan Eovaldi, to Jack Leiter, to Tyler Mahle, to Jacob deGrom, I believe, and then Kumar Rocker is number five. How you like how this rotation looks to start the season with, of course, John Gray departed for now?
Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of having Kumar Rocker on in the rotation, especially after his last season. I thought he showed a lot of good stuff from last year, and he's having a good spring training. Um, Jack Leiter's a little bit more of a surprise for me. And again, I get it. We talked. Jack Leiter had a 8.83 ERA last year, and I think nine or so games. Just really, really struggled in the majors, and has been struggling in the minors just a little bit. Um, he had a good spring training so far. It looks like 3.07 ERA, 17 strikeouts, 14.2 innings, though he's issued nine walks in those outings. Um, I mean, it's tough. You want to ask the question, are they rushing him back too early? Or they're not rushing him back, but are they rushing him into the majors a little bit too early? And I get it again with the Bradford and Gray injuries that you need to have somebody called up, and Jack Leiter's probably the best idea because I mean Patrick Corbin, look, not gonna be good. Not gonna
Yeah,
be good.
come on now.
You lose other players in the off season or in off season pass, like Martin Perez would have been a great fifth starter for us at this point, even though he showed some struggling, he struggled a lot in his last year with the Rangers. But I mean, Dane Dunning getting waived sucks because of somebody who's been with the team since like 2021, been with the team when they sucked and was able to help them in the postseason win a World Series. But I mean he did not step up really last year when we had all the injuries. I mean Dane Dunning, of course, I mean literally almost every pitcher we had got hurt. You talk about Dane Dunning, he probably got put on the IL I think once or twice last year. I think he had 26 games played last year. But still struggled, when we have players like Max Scherzer and Nathan Eovaldi who had longer IL stinks in that season. You're gonna need somebody like Dane Dunning to step up, somebody who's been there and has the experience, and he wasn't able to do that. So I get, putting him on waivers, I guess, because of also how he struggled in spring training this year. I believe he had a 5+ ERA in the spring training season this year as well. Um, but Jack Leiter, I wish I could pull up some of the pitching depth because I have I'm just a little troubled by putting Jack Leiter right into the fire on the second day of the season.
Yeah.
After his really, really bad year last year. He had good glimpses. He was showing good potential. Um, and again, I have a hard time disagreeing with what Bochy thinks because Bochy is a master at his craft. But it does just feel a little bit worrying because, of course, what happens if he does struggle? I mean, first month of the season before Bradford and Gray get back, and you send him back because he's not doing too good. I mean, what's
Hmm.
that going to do to him? What's that going to do to his future? Um, it's a tough thing, and then now you also don't have the idea of having the trade capital, which I know is something that people don't want to hear. But it is a business, and you got to think of Jack Leiter as if he's not going to work out, you don't see the potential in him anymore. You should try to still see if you can get him for some good pieces in the at the deadline or in the off season. And right now, I mean, if he has a bad start to the season, you're basically throwing away your top five pick. I believe what he was the second overall, third overall pick. I think he was the second overall
Yeah,
pick.
second overall. He was definitely top three for sure. But,
Hmm.
you know, him and Kumar Rocker obviously had such great careers at Vanderbilt,
Yep.
obviously College World Series champions. And I'd be a liar to say that I was expecting them to have, this much struggle in the beginning. But I mean, it's hard to make the MLB, and everybody knows this by now. No matter how good you are in college, you still have to go through the minors and prove your worth and prove how great you are. And so to see them almost just right there, it seems to be. I mean, technically they are there, but right there from being just great pitchers, everyday pitchers that you could use in a rotation. It's kind of good for the team that they can use them even with John Gray gone, and that they can step up at this time and hopefully prove what they've learned and gotten better at. Because Kumar Rocker did look a lot better at the end of the year. Of course, we know Jack Leiter struggles as you mentioned, but hopefully he can start this season well. Because Cody Bradford last year, he's the one who surprised me and how well he started,
Hmm.
especially in that game against the Astros early in the season. And unfortunately, he'll be dealing on the IL for now as it stands. But of course, one of the big questions again, as always, this Texas Rangers bullpen. And man, oh man, I don't even know what to expect this year from this bullpen. Of course, the Rangers somehow won the World Series with historically one of the worst bullpens that you will ever see, folks. Somehow they did it 2 seasons ago with Jose Leclerc, who had his struggles at times, no longer a Texas Ranger. Pico is no longer in Arlington. But Josh Sborz, still harboring a shoulder injury, will start the season on the 60-day IL. The Rangers get back Chris Martin, a former Ranger.
Yep.
They get back Luke Jackson, also a former Ranger in the past. They get Hobie Milner from the Milwaukee Brewers. They get Jerson Jarabito, who has been in their system for a second. And then they get Robert Garcia, who they traded for Nathaniel Lowe. So I don't know what to expect really, because we don't know who's going to be the setup man or even the closing man by now. But Mark Church, we heard, will be on the opening day roster for the Texas Rangers. Who is going to be the guy that steps up the most for this bullpen, in your opinion? And what do you even see as a whole for this bullpen?
I mean, it's an interesting bullpen. It's an interesting bullpen, and we've kind of talked about this as as the time goes on this season, if they're playing good, which we want to see, um, obviously, and the batting's doing good, then they will have the resources to trade for some good bullpen pieces in the end. Um, I mean, I am excited about getting Luke Jackson back. He's had a dominant spring training so far.
Mhm.
Hasn't let up a run, has gone 9 strikeouts in a couple appearances. And then also you have people like Chris Martin that you mentioned that I'm excited to have back, who's also had a good spring training. Um, somebody who I want to see that could potentially be a player that's a long innings either somebody like Cody Bradford again, if we see somebody like Kumar Rocker or Jack Leiter kind of keep that rotation spot if they're playing good early in the season. I also do like Cody Bradford in the rotation, however, especially because I think we do need a lefty in our rotation. But I mean, Josh Sborz, where are you, man? I know you're hurt. But you're always hurt, man. You got the last out in the World Series, and then that's the last we've seen from you, basically, man. Come on. We need you back. Yeah, obviously, he had a really, really bad regular season. People were calling for his head before the postseason, but once he came into that postseason, he became our most reliable relief pitcher in that playoff run. Um, so that's somebody that I really want to see back, and I hope that can really help with this you know relief system that we have because it's not looking too good. I do again like the acquisitions of getting Luke Jackson and Chris Martin back. Robert Garcia is a good player. I think that losing Kirby Yates was a big miss in
Ugh.
this offseason,
And no
obviously, as he
David
was
Robertson
a
either, by the
closer.
way. Old man Robertson still not signed
Yeah,
by any.
old man
Yeah.
Robertson, David Robertson, who has not been signed yet. I'm all right with giving him up, even though he was a great player for us. Probably asking for a little bit too much, especially for his age. Who knows how that's going to go? But Kirby Yates was a very tough loss to get, especially to somebody like the freaking Dodgers, man.
I hope Hobie Milner can be a kind of a key acquisition. By the way, a former Texas Longhorn, Hobie Milner, that we got from the Milwaukee Brewers. Of course, in 2023, he had his best season ever. And he had a 2-1 record with a 1.82 ERA, but 2024 he struggled mightily. He's also a lefty, and you talked about we don't have that many lefties so far in this pitching staff, but he is
Yep.
one of the few that they'll have in the relief option and had a 4.73 ERA last year. And when you go from 1.82 to 4.73 and you get the pitcher, I don't know what to expect in this season because historically he has a career 3.82 ERA. He's been all over the place based on his season totals, but I think he can be a valuable option late in the game, possibly seventh, eighth inning role, setup man. He's probably not going to close too many games. He's more of a seventh, eighth inning guy, but hopefully he can play a big role this year for the Rangers bullpen. I think I'm a little bit hopeful for him. Hopefully, if he doesn't give up too many runs, basically home runs in the late stages. Going ahead to
Yeah.
this Boston series again, we know Nathan Eovaldi starting, going against Gary Crochet. Then it'll be Jack Leiter against Tanner Huck, Tyler Mahle, who will finally get to see to start the season, going against Walker Buehler from the LA Dodgers on Saturday, and then to close out the series, the returning Jacob DeGrom versus my boy from Boston, undecided. One of my favorite players, undecided. Jacob
He's a great
DeGrom,
player, almost as good as cash considerations.
cash
I don't know which one's
consideration.
better.
Yeah, but for the Rangers, I mean, this team usually doesn't beat Boston. I don't know what it is in any sport. We already saw the Mavs and beat the Celtics. The Rangers, I mean, the Cowboys are just now starting to beat up on the Patriots. I mean, for years they couldn't beat Tom Brady. They never did beat Tom Brady to this last game where they retired him with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but never
Yeah.
when he was a Patriot. So it's been a struggle for DFW Sports to beat up on any team from Boston, and we've seen this so many times against the Red Sox. Can this team win this opening series in this first four-game series of the year against the Red Sox?
It's gonna be tough. It's gonna come down to the starting pitching. I mean, Undecided is a really good player, and Trevor Mahle and Jacob DeGrom, whoever's gonna be starting in that. You said it's a 4 game series, right? So it's
Yeah.
it's Tyler Mahle and Jacob DeGrom. Um, I mean, I really do like this team, and I don't. This isn't gonna directly answer your question again, man. I'm started a career in politician or politicking, whatever that's. I don't know how to say it, man. I'm not really invested in all that, but you know, I mean, look, it's I really want to see this team win 90 games this year. I expect something around that. I don't think that this team right now, especially with the pitching concerns, can reach to 100 even with the offense. But the offense is also going to come down to some of the players like Corey Seager and Marcus Semien who had major drop-offs in 2024 compared to 2023. Um, and also, of course, how can I forget about El Bombe, who had a disastrous season last year after being one of the other playoff heroes for our team. Also, Jonah Heim had a step off. Players like that, they're going to have to find their stride again. Those were all all-star starters for the team in 2023. And they had major drop-offs. Um, if this team wants to contend, they are going to have to win these series against Boston. Boston's going to be a team that's probably going to be in the wild card race. I don't see them winning the division with teams like the Yankees and possibly even the Blue Jays who could contend for it. Um, in that division. They'll probably be around the wild card. And if the Rangers, who everybody is expecting to win the AOS, it's kind of the popular pick now, which is unfortunate. I always like being the underdog, especially when a team like the Houston Astros have dominated the division for the last 7 years, I believe 8 years now. And so I don't, if they're going to be in the wild card, God forbid, I hope that they do win the division. That's going to be a team that they're going to be up against. And if it's going to be a 2 game difference or so, we can come back to this series and be like, well, they lost 3-1 in that series. And that's really what cost them in making the wild card at least. So, I mean, yeah, I don't know how they'll do, but I'll say that they'll win. I'll say they'll split it 2-for-2. I think Nathan Eovaldi goes out there and pitches pretty well, but um, I'm not too sure about players like Jack Leiter, Molly, and DeGrom having immediate great starts. I hope that they do, but they've had way too many, especially Maul and DeGrom have just had way too many injuries recently. Um, for me to be extremely confident that they'll be back to their full selves. So yeah, no, I'll go 2-2. I'll go a good little split.
That's fair. And I'd be stunned if this team won the series, to be honest with you. It's already difficult as it is to win a four-game series, let alone at the beginning of the season. I'd be stunned if they won this series. I think the best they can do really is split it. This lineup for the Red Sox looks pretty good still. You have Duran, you still have Devers you're going against. You have a lot of threats, of course, in the outfield. You have a lot, even the middle infield of the young Rafaela, who's great for the Red Sox as well last season. Um, it's just interesting to watch this team, like the Red Sox, who they show they can have potential in offense in certain parts of the season these past 2 years, and then they just hit a wall when it hits towards August and September, and then the offense just kind of falls off. Pitching hasn't been too big of a problem for them. They've actually probably exceeded expectations, to be honest, pitching wise. But when you get Garrett Crochet from the White Sox, who some people we know who are White Sox fans are not too happy about being gone from Chicago, um, that's a big acquisition for this rotation. And so looking at this lineup, it's probably going to be again Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, the 1 and 2 combo, obviously to start the year. Wyatt Langford, I'm guessing will probably be the third guy, and then maybe Jock Peterson hitting cleanup instead of El Bombi this year. El Bombi will probably hit either 4 or 5, but I bet he'll hit 5 this year. Josh Young probably should hit 6th, I bet. And then, Evan Carter, again, he's not going to be here. Should be Leody Taveras. And I like during these exhibition games, Dave Raymond was talking about, people forget he's still only 26 years old. He's still a pretty young guy in his sixth season in MLB that's coming up. 26 years old, he'll probably hit either seventh or eighth or ninth. But Joe Naheim, like you were saying, uh, he struggled and had a big drop off last year after being an all-star catcher, gold glove catcher for the Texas Rangers. But the Rangers did get Kyle Higashioka to be a nice backup catcher and split roles with Joe Naheim. He'll probably hit eighth or ninth. And then Jake Burger, of course, an acquisition for the Rangers, who should bring a lot of power back to the lineup, especially late in the bottom of the lineup. So, with that being said, let's get to a little bit more fun topics, though. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
No, I would say real quick that I really don't. I mean, the problem is that we don't have anyone on this roster that can hit leadoff other than Marcus Semien, but I don't agree with Marcus Semien being the leadoff hitter. He's not one of the he's not an elite first batter in the lineup as we've kind of expected. And he actually did dominate a lot as a second uh a person in the second part of the lineup with teams like Oakland and I believe Toronto as well. Um, that's something that I wish we could do. Obviously, I don't think anyone else could hold that leadoff hit spot other than possibly someone like Josh Smith. I also feel like somebody like Josh Young. I think Josh Young could be somebody that we could put at that three hole. Um, instead of I understand Wyatt Langford's a great pick. I like Josh Young being there at the three. Um, I think that I'm really expecting a good year out of Josh Young. I'm expecting a lot of power out of him. Hopefully he can keep that wrist in check. But I think Josh Young, I would maybe start him off at the three.
And how valuable it is to still have a guy like Josh Smith. By the way, a utility silver slugger, I believe. They just started adding that award recently, but won the Silver Slugger for utility players in 2024. Of course, one of the best memories of the season, albeit there were not that many crazy memories last season, but one of them was his walk-off winner against the Astros that came at possibly one of the
He's an
craziest
Astros
times.
killer.
Yeah, I mean that probability for the Rangers win probability was pretty low at that time. It was probably the best I think of the season, the biggest turnaround that is for a team that looked like they were down and out against Ryan Presley, and then he hits a walk off with Corey Seager behind him on deck,
And then
and
they
the
almost
team,
get no hit the next game.
yeah, pretty much with the trying to keep the revision hopes alive. But also Ezekiel Duran on the bench still here for the Rangers, big to have him for depth, and he's still very young as well. But back to more of a probably fun topic here. More fun topics coming up. No more Bally Sports Southwest. No more Rangers trying to have money from Bally Sports Southwest. That was kind of screwing them over a little bit. You could argue that's why they didn't get a lot of free agents this past summer in the off season.
More
But now
excuses.
it'll now be yeah, it'll now be the Rangers Sports Network with Dave Raymond and Mike Baxick and Jared Sandler hosting all the pregame and in-game festivities. Now that Rangers have their own regional sports network, it will air locally, but also will be partnering with, I believe, DirecTV, if that's what
Yep.
we learned in our business of sports media class. Me putting that Panda's work to action. But yeah, the Rangers have their own World Series, or excuse me, regional sports network. You have to think with the downfall of regional sports network that this is going to be the future for a lot of teams. And with Rob Manfred possibly trying to get all these teams to kind of sacrifice themselves to give all their deals to the MLB and make their own deal where everybody can just watch their team and not deal with blackouts anymore. This is probably the future for now as it stands, but I don't foresee the Yankees possibly giving up money or the Cubs giving up money to cede it to the MLB. But the Rangers do have the World Series. I can't believe I keep saying this. Their own regional sports network, the Rangers Sports Network. But speaking of the World Series banner, people were looking at Globe Life Field and didn't see the banner at all. And they're wondering, is there going to be a different unveiling of the World Series banner that, of course, had a lot of controversy when it was unveiled in the beginning of the 2024 season? Just, a white flag with World Series champions on it, kind of dangling on the side over there, but on the bottom of the roof. Is it going to be somewhere else, do you think? Because they didn't see it in that same spot. You
I
don't
don't know.
know? I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
I think that it's I think that no, I mean it was a little ugly. But it was an I wouldn't call it ugly actually. I mean, come
It
on.
need to
This is
be
the
ironed.
first championship. You got to be thankful for what you have. I would just say it was a little bit of an eyesore, all right.
Yeah, a little bit of an
Um,
eyesore.
but I mean, yeah, I don't know why it just like suddenly disappeared. That's it's quite weird, but I guess they're just trying to find out that they're going to put some more room up there for some more future banners, I guess. I don't know.
All right, well, hopefully they can figure it out soon because I definitely did not like it. Hopefully they should make it look like how they have all the pennant flags over there that they replaced for Globe Life Field. It's like a square, like a rectangle of like red and blue or something, whatever it is. But you definitely expect a team to have a better World Series banner than that one because that was just like a white surrender flag almost.
Seems like it didn't plan it too much, yeah.
Yeah. But we're gonna get to some season predictions, roll through it pretty quickly, and then we'll be out of here for episode 61. You kind of mentioned it a little bit, but what do you see for the Texas Rangers as team record? Get specific with it. What do you see?
Joe, I'm gonna go 93 and 69.
That's
I'll say so. I'll say slightly over 90 wins. It's going to really depend on the injuries, which they really got riddled with last year. But I expect a big. I think Corey Seager's being disrespected a lot with all these player rankings. Um, look, I think Corey Seager he was going to be AL MVP if it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani in the 2023 season. He had a bit of a lot of injury problems and a down year last year. But I really think that he is one of the best players, a top 10 player in the league with how he hits, with his clutchness, with his power. It's gonna be I want to see a big year from him, and I also again expect a big year from players like Josh Young. I think this offense can really mash. I'm excited to watch this lineup. I think that it's going to really carry this team, and I think that if DeGrom can stay healthy, I think that this pitching staff will be somewhat good enough to where we will win 90 plus. And I also think that again the offense is going to carry the team into the trade deadline and Chris Young's going to pull some moves to get us some great players, either whether it's in the rotation or in the bullpen. I think it'll be some great pickups, and I'm going to go 93-69. They win the division and take it from the Houston Astros.
I like the sound of that. I'm gonna have to go probably like, 92 wins, I guess, just a little bit above 90, like you were
Oh,
saying. We might not be able to go 100. I wish this team could just have a 100 win season in my lifetime. I know that's a weird ask, but if you win the World Series, I know that matters more, but just 1 year, 100 wins, please. But probably just a little bit above 90s. Again, this division is not looking crazy. The Astros will probably be the best competition against the Seattle Mariners, maybe. That offense still does not scare me in the slightest. Even the Seattle Mariners, but their pitching, like it has been the past 3 seasons, has been spectacular, and it's caused players like Justin Turner to wonder, like, why aren't you going after players if you're the Seattle Mariners? Why aren't you at least trying a little bit harder to get
Got a
these
good
free
point.
agents? Yeah, so that's the biggest issue going on with a lot of MLB owners. They just don't really care. They just rather would, fatten their pockets and just take money and not try that much during free agency. So the Astros are probably still the biggest challenge for the Rangers, of course, but no longer the Oakland Athletics. They're just Athletics. They have no name for now. They'll be playing in Sacramento. The Athletics, I think, can be a sneaky good team. They're pretty young. A guy named Lawrence Butler will be one of their best players this season, um, in that lineup and also in the outfield. But the Athletics, as they're just going to be called this year, who are supposed to be Vegas bound, they say, all of a sudden are willing to pay their players as soon as they leave Oakland. And I know if you're an Athletics fan, you must be sick to your stomach. But I think this team could possibly contend for a third wild card spot at most.
Oh yeah,
But
no, for sure.
I do
I also
think
have the
that
GOAT Jose Leclerc.
yeah, Jose Leclerc for sure, El Pico, as they used to call him here in the Rangers. But I think that the Rangers will win this division for sure. How much they win it by, I don't know. But I think that this is the year they can win their first division title since 2016. And sadly, we know what happened that season. Um, Will this team win the World Series? I'll kind of lay off that question. I think it's way too early to ask that right now. But we'll go through some stat predictions really quick. Who do you think will lead in starting ERA and strikeouts? We asked this a few weeks ago, but since opening day is finally here again, who do you think will lead in ERA and strikeouts?
That's going to be Nathan Eovaldi again, no doubt in my mind. I think Jacob deGrom's going to have a couple IL appearances. Give me Nathan Eovaldi with the leader in strikeouts and also leader in you said ERA.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dang, I must say both. He could. He could.
Yeah,
It's
I think so.
possible.
I think so.
Hey, look, I'm gonna go with Nathan Eovaldi for strikeouts for sure. He's the most reliable down the course of the season. Doesn't go in the IL that much, so I'll go with him for strikeouts. But I'll go with Jacob deGrom just for the sake of him not giving up that many runs historically. He can have, of course, those IL stints like you're talking about, but in terms of
That's a
not
good
giving up
point.
many runs, he'll probably still have the lowest ERA in my opinion. We'll move on to homers. A lot of power added back to this lineup for the Rangers offense. I do think that the offense will be slightly back to the 2023 offense that we saw that led to a World Series. Who do you think will lead in homers?
Gonna go with another basic answer. I'm gonna go Corey Seager. And both of his years with the or in 3 years with the Rangers, I think he's had over 30 home runs in all 3 years. Maybe not last year, but that's also again with IL appearances in all three of those years. I'm gonna go with Corey Seager, with the power. I'm gonna expect him to hit at least 35 this year.
You can contend. I don't know how many, plate appearances he'll get, just depending on where he's in the lineup. That Jake Burger could possibly contend for that. Maybe El Bombi, but Jake Burger had a career season last year, but he's probably gonna have less plate appearances this year because this lineup is so much better than the Marlins.
Hmm.
With that being said, it'll probably be Corey Seager in my opinion. An easy answer, I think, and he'll probably hit at least 35 to 40, like you're saying. And then we'll go to RBIs here to finish off the game or the podcast, whatever you want to call this certain part of the opening day show. RBIs, who do you have leading for the Rangers offense?
Oh, that's a good question. I my my gut is telling me Wyatt Langford. I think it's going to be Wyatt Langford. I think a good amount. I think that there's some good prospects in this. If Obambe has a good year and hits a lot of home runs, he's going to have a lot of people on base in front of him, which makes me think that he could be a contender. But I'm going to go with Wyatt Langford, who a lot of people think is going to be in the three hole. We'll see how that goes with Wyatt Langford. I think that he deserves it, even though I said Josh Young probably should be in it. But if he is, I'm not mad at it at all. I think that Wyatt Langford can have a 100 RBI season. He started mashing a lot last season at the end of the year, and he's also shown that he can get extra base hits even when it's not home runs, like very consistently. So give me Wyatt Langford here.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. I'm probably gonna go Wyatt Langford too. I like the young former Gator here to finally take that next step. Honestly, he struggled, of course, to start the year in his rookie campaign, but I'm going to go with him to kind of take that next step, possibly contend for a Silver Slugger award in the outfield and lead the team in RBIs. Does he lead in homers? Probably not, in my opinion, but I do think he can really be a nice vacuum for this offense. And so, with that being said, I'll wrap up the Rangers opening day projections. Of course, in DFW news, the Mavs will lose to the New York Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns got his first triple double in 3 years. Najee Marshall was kind of cooking right there, almost ruining the Mavs draft tank in TJ's viewpoint. But 80 returned in these past two games. Don't know if he'll really propel this team to a play-in berth. They're trying to compete with the Phoenix Suns for that 10th seed. But also the Dallas Cowboys missed out on Stephon Diggs. Not sure they were really too high on him, really, but I was kind of thinking that they could possibly want to pair him with his brother here with the Cowboys team. But Stephon Diggs is a New England Patriot officially. He's headed to
Very
the
interesting.
Northeast. Yeah, interesting signing for sure. Don't know if I really understand that too much. But also the Dallas Stars, since a shootout loss to the Tampa Bay Lightning, have won two in a row to the Philadelphia Flyers. And the Edmonton Oilers. And of course, you saw the coach of the Stars kind of going on a little bit of a rant after not playing how he wanted to play a few games ago. They're starting to get a little bit going here in Dallas amidst all the injuries and struggles on the defensive side, and the meshing, of course, with adding a new player. It's
The
kind of hard
first
to
line needs to
build
step up.
chemistry with, huh?
First line needs to step up.
For sure, they need to step up. And we'll see how this Dallas Stars team will go. We'll, of course, talk about them more in the future as the playoffs are almost here, and also more with the Cowboys talk with the draft approaching on April 24th. So that'll do it for episode 61 of the 214 Sports Show. We do invite you to like and subscribe this video here on YouTube, or if you're listening on Spotify, we post these in full length on Thursdays, usually at 11 a.m on YouTube and Spotify at the 214 Sports Show. You can find it. But also, we have social medias um, on X/Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at 214 Sports Show. You can find this show. Please give it a like, retweet, share it any way you can. And with that, I'll toss to TJ if he wants to share his socials too.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at tj.krillowitz, and then you can follow me on X at tj_Krillowitz.
And for me, you can follow me on X/Twitter at Joseph_Duffy99. And then also you can follow on Instagram at Joseph_Duffy99. Then also on TikTok at Joe_Duffy. Not too much content on there really on TikTok for me, but really just I'm on Twitter for the most of the time. But again, please like and subscribe this video, the 214 Sports Show, full length on YouTube and Spotify. Share it to anybody you know. Plenty of content, even if you're not a fan of all four teams in DFW. We really would enjoy you listening and sharing for any team that you do enjoy in the DFW Metroplex. With that being said, thank you for listening to episode 61. For TJ Krolowitz, I'm Joseph Duffy. Have a great rest of your day.